The film begins by introducing Frank Adler, a single man living in a modest home in a small town in Florida. He's raising his 7-year-old niece, Mary Adler, who is exceptionally intelligent. Mary is shown to be incredibly gifted in mathematics, far beyond her age. Despite her brilliance, Frank is determined to give her a normal childhood. He encourages her to play outside and socialize with other kids instead of focusing solely on academics. Frank enrolls Mary in a local public school for the first time. Despite her protests, he insists that she needs to be around other children and have a more typical upbringing. On the first day of school, Mary's extraordinary intelligence becomes apparent when her teacher, Bonnie Stevenson, asks the class a basic math problem. Mary easily answers not only that problem but several complex ones that even adults might struggle with. Bonnie is immediately impressed by Mary's talent and is surprised that Frank has kept her out of school for so long. She approaches Frank after class to discuss Mary's potential, but Frank is resistant to pushing Mary too hard academically. As Bonnie becomes more aware of Mary's exceptional abilities, she brings it to the attention of the school principal, who then recommends moving Mary to a school for gifted children. They believe Mary could thrive in an environment that challenges her more academically. However, Frank is firmly against the idea. He argues that his sister, Mary's mother, wanted Mary to lead a normal life and not be pressured or isolated because of her intellect. This sets up a central conflict, as Frank's desire to honor his late sister's wishes by giving Mary a regular childhood versus the pressure from others to nurture Mary's extraordinary talents. We also meet Roberta, Frank's neighbor and close friend. She has been a constant presence in both Frank and Mary's lives. Roberta shares a loving bond with Mary and serves as a motherly figure to her. Roberta expresses her concern for Mary, feeling that Frank is trying to shield her too much from the world and that her brilliance may be stifled if he doesn't allow her to reach her full potential. Despite their differing views, Roberta and Frank are close, and she supports him in raising Mary. Bonnie visits Frank Adler at a bar to try to convince him to reconsider the offer of the gifted school. During their conversation, she expresses admiration for how well Frank has been raising Mary but stresses that her talent is extraordinary and should be nurtured. Frank, however, remains firm in his belief that Mary should have a normal childhood, just as his sister had wanted before she passed away. He feels that being placed in an advanced program could isolate Mary and rob her of the chance to enjoy a typical childhood. Mary begins to show signs of frustration at her public school. Because of her superior intellect, she feels out of place among her peers, and this leads to some behavioral issues. In one incident, she physically lashes out at another student who was picking on her classmate. The principal calls Frank in to discuss the situation, further pressuring him to consider a more suitable educational environment for Mary, but Frank refuses. The conflict escalates when Evelyn Adler, Frank's estranged mother and Mary's grandmother, enters the picture. Evelyn is a highly ambitious and intelligent woman who had pushed her own daughter to pursue academic greatness. After hearing about Mary's brilliance, Evelyn believes that Mary should be placed in an elite educational environment and strongly disagrees with Frank's decision to keep her in a regular school. She believes that Mary's intellectual potential should be cultivated to the fullest, and she disapproves of Frank's approach to raising her. Evelyn expresses her desire to take legal action to gain custody of Mary, setting the stage for a family battle over what is best for her future. Tensions rise as Evelyn formally initiates a legal battle with Frank over custody of Mary. Evelyn argues that Mary's gift for mathematics is too important to be wasted and that she needs to be in a specialized, advanced program. Frank, on the other hand, argues that pushing Mary too hard could cause her to suffer the same fate as her mother, who had struggled with the intense pressure Evelyn placed on her. As both Frank and Evelyn seek to prove what they believe is in Mary's best interest. Frank is fighting to protect Mary's emotional well-being and give her a balanced life, while Evelyn is focused on her academic future and potential. Evelyn's lawyer focuses on Frank's relatively modest lifestyle and lack of formal education, using it to argue that he's unfit to nurture Mary's potential. The custody proceedings start to take an emotional toll on both Frank and Mary. Despite the legal tension, Mary continues to have a strong bond with Frank. She is emotionally attached to him and has grown accustomed to their life together. Frank provides her with a balance of intellectual stimulation and a normal, happy childhood with things like playing outdoors and enjoying time with her friends. Mary becomes aware of the tension between Frank and Evelyn and starts to feel torn between them, particularly as her intellectual gifts are at the center of the argument. Roberta, Frank's neighbor and close friend, continues to provide support for him during the custody battle. She cares deeply for Mary and is frustrated by Evelyn's attempts to take her away. Roberta represents a maternal figure in Mary's life and is protective of both her and Frank. Roberta serves as an emotional anchor for Frank during the legal process, encouraging him to fight for what he believes is best for Mary. During the custody proceedings, The court arranges for Mary to visit a prestigious school for gifted children. Evelyn hopes this visit will convince the judge that Mary belongs in an environment that will foster her intellect to its full potential. During the visit, Mary excels at the various challenges and math problems presented to her, impressing the faculty. However, she also feels uncomfortable in the highly structured and competitive environment, and it's clear that this is not the kind of life Frank wants for her. The visit leaves Mary confused and overwhelmed as she starts to realize the immense pressure placed on her due to her abilities. As the legal proceedings continue, Frank's lawyer reveals more details about Mary's mother, Diane Adler. Diane was a mathematical genius herself, but she struggled with the immense pressure placed on her by Evelyn, who pushed her to pursue academic greatness at all costs. Diane's struggle ultimately led to her tragic death by self-deleting, a result of the intense expectations and emotional turmoil she experienced. Frank believes that pushing Mary too hard in the same way could lead her down a similar path, which is why he is so adamant about protecting her from the kind of life his sister led. The judge listens to both sides, acknowledging the complexity of the situation. It's clear that both Frank and Evelyn love Mary in their own ways, but they have very different visions for her future. As the custody case reaches its conclusion, Frank faces a difficult decision. His lawyer advises him to consider making a compromise with Evelyn in order to avoid losing custody altogether. The compromise would involve allowing Mary to live with Evelyn part-time, where she would receive an advanced education, while still spending time with Frank. The courtroom drama culminates in a surprising turn when the court rules in favor of Evelyn, granting her custody of Mary. This decision devastates Frank, who feels he has failed to protect Mary from the pressures of her grandmother's ambitions. Mary is also heartbroken. Despite her intellectual gifts, she is still a child who loves Frank and wants to stay with him. The separation is difficult for both of them. However, Evelyn makes a critical decision after winning custody. Rather than taking full custody, she agrees to place Mary in foster care temporarily while she pursues academic advancement. Evelyn believes that this will allow Mary to have access to the gifted education she needs, without having to stay with Frank, whom she sees as holding Mary back from reaching her full potential. Mary is placed in foster care with the agreement that she will attend the specialized school for gifted children, but she quickly becomes unhappy. As she's angry at Frank for not fighting for her, Frank is heartbroken as he has no choice but to leave Mary there. During this time, Frank uncovers a crucial piece of evidence that changes the course of the custody battle. He finds an unpublished mathematical proof that Diane, Mary's mother, had been working on before her death. This proof was an unsolved problem in the field of mathematics, and Diane's work on it was groundbreaking. Frank realizes that the pressure to complete this proof had contributed to her emotional decline and eventual self-deleting. Armed with this new evidence, Frank confronts Evelyn and shows her Diane's note. He tells her that Diane's final wish was for Mary to live a happy and balanced life, not one driven solely by academic achievement. This revelation hits Evelyn hard. For the first time, she is forced to confront the consequences of the pressure she placed on Diane and the possibility that she is repeating the same mistake with Mary. After seeing the note and realizing the weight of Diane's wishes, Evelyn begins to reconsider her stance. Although she has always believed that pushing Mary academically was the right thing to do, she acknowledges that Diane's wishes should be honored. Evelyn reluctantly agrees to drop her custody claim, allowing Frank to regain full custody of Mary. Mary returns to live with Frank, which brings immense relief to both of them. Mary is overjoyed to be back with Frank and Roberta, and she is given the chance to live a more balanced and happy life. Although Mary continues to attend school and work on her math, it's now at a pace that suits her, without the intense pressure from Evelyn. Make sure to like and subscribe for more notifications. Until next time. See you soon.